In progress.
In the absence of President Charlot, I'd like to call to order the Village Board meeting of Lake Bluff, November 24th. And I'll call the roll. Trustee El-Shamaz? Here. Trustee Fisher?
Here.
Trustee Freed?
Here.
Trustee Hatch?
Here.
Trustee Renner? Here. And Trustee Ryder?
Here.
We have a quorum. I'd like to ask for a motion to elect a president pro tem.
I move for Trustee Ryder.
Do we have a second? Voice vote. And it's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Hey. Let's begin this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey. Don't believe we have any awards and proclamations right now. We might have one, Little Bird told me later, but not at this point in the agenda. So we'll take up number 4, which is consideration of the minutes of the board meeting on November 10, just 2 short weeks ago. Do I have a motion to approve those board minutes from November 10th?
Motion to approve. Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, no one opposed, motion passes. Item number 5, non-agenda items. The village president and board of trustees allocate 15 minutes for those individuals who would like the opportunity to address the village board of trustees on any matter not listed on the agenda. Each person addressing the village board of trustees is asked to limit their comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Yes, you can come to the podium and state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name's Sue Raymore. I live at 352 Briar Lane in Lake Bluff.
Janice All, Knollwood. Joyce Foster.
Welcome.
So we all know Joyce because she lives down at the beach on the corner by this road with her wonderful sign. So we're here tonight, our Growing Native Habitat Group. Thank you very much to the Sustainability Committee and to the board for our support. As you know, you guys gave us an award a couple months ago, and we just wanted to present you with an official community wildlife habitat sign for you to post wherever you feel appropriate. I don't know if anyone has a request, but we just wanted to thank you very much for your support. I think we get a lot of feedback, still getting people. Every time we do anything, we get 2 or 3 more people joining our list. So we've got some momentum going, and we love what we're doing, and we hope we're helping Lake Bluff. And thank you for supporting us.
Thank you.
Definitely. You're definitely helping Lake Bluff. Thank
so
you.
much.
Oh.
Thanks, Sue. Do we have anyone else would like to address the board on items that are not on the agenda tonight?
Anybody participating online tonight through the village's Zoom meeting wants to comment on things that are not on the agenda, now is the time to raise your hand and be recognized. No one.
Okay, proceeding to item 6, setting the order of the meeting. The village president and board of trustees will entertain requests from anyone present on the order of business to be conducted during the village board meeting. Do we have any requests to take items out of order, starting with 13 down to 21, I guess?
I'd like to move item 16 to the next agenda item.
Item 16. Okay. Do we have any other requests?
So without objection, you'll take 16 first.
Okay. What he said. Without objection, we'll take number 16 first. Okay. Moving to number 16. It's the right place in our board packets here. The subject matter is an ordinance adopting civil immigration enforcement regulations and amending Title VII of the Lake Bluff Municipal Code regarding the use of village property for civil immigration enforcement purposes. As everyone knows from their packet, we did get a background of why this was being considered. And we also got background on a variety of other options. We've had a couple of discussions. I think one was at the committee of the whole meeting. Another might have been at the full board meeting, but we've had a couple of discussions. And what we've asked administration come back to us with was a proposed ordinance that is in your packets. That proposed ordinance has certain of the restrictions we can go over, but the ones that come to my mind as important are the expansion of the Trust Act restrictions that are applicable to police officers to other municipal officers. That was one that I recall. Okay. The other is restrictions on use of village property and resources. And then for third, support for private property owners who are interested in posting parameters on their private property as to civil enforcement of immigration officers. So enforcement of civil immigration purported violations, I guess. So the ordinance is there in your packet. Do we take a motion? Do we take a motion or have a discussion first? Okay. We'll take a motion to approve the ordinance as written.
Motion approved. Second.
And before we have a vote, does anyone have comments on that, right? That's the right order.
Questions just to have some clarity on a few topics.
Okay.
And I think perhaps the question should be directed to Village Attorney Peter. Can you just clarify for me something? This ordinance, does it stand in the way in any fashion of the federal government doing its job at upholding and enforcing federal laws?
The village is prohibited from, under federal law, from interfering with the federal government enforcing federal law, not just immigration-related law, but any law. And so you have that on one side, then you have the Illinois law that at the same time prohibits the village from doing anything that would assist in civil immigration activities of the federal government. So this ordinance, as with many other ordinances that have been adopted by other municipalities, tries to thread that needle so that it's focused on the restrictions on the use of village property, which arguably the use of village property is not restricting the federal government, but is preventing the village from assisting the federal government. That would be the argument. And as I said last time, the use, the federal government's use of village property or resources or assets is the legal foundation of that restriction is that under the 10th Amendment, the federal government is not allowed to commandeer local government assets and property for the purpose of enforcing federal law.
Thanks, Peter.
We had a discussion at the committee of the whole meeting about the differences. I misspoke about criminal versus civil. So hopefully Peter corrected us all on that issue, speaking colloquially more than legally as I was. And so the only impact we have to this is civil enforcement. If there's a warrant, a court order, we will of course obey it. We will of course do what we need to do to follow the criminal process as it is. So to reiterate, I believe this version of the ordinance would extend the Illinois law that applies to police officers. No police officer may assist federal enforcement agents on civil enforcement immigration matters to non-police officers, to other village staff. The second item is the use of village property for the reasons we've stated. And then the third is providing private property owners with signage at no cost. I was more concerned personally with the applicable language that they might use and being able to, rather than the physical piece of paper, thinking that we had access to what lots of other villages and towns are doing and could easily provide that kind of information to our property owners if they so sought it out without needing to go out to get their own information about that. But not as much like we're going to mass produce signs, that I didn't expect that we were going to get in the business of making signs. So can we just talk to what the language has ended up being here and make that we know what we're intending to do here?
With regard to signage,
Signage. Mm-hmm.
there are three things that's under subsection D. It authorizes the village administrator first to make physical improvements to comply with the restrictions on village property, to post village signage on village property and parking lots and public parks and open space to implement the restrictions that are set forth in the ordinance, and then provide private property owners with signage to delineate the non-public areas of their property on which owners may desire to restrict activities related to civil immigration enforcement, which owners may post at their own discretion at their sole risk. And I will say that we will ensure that the language of that signage is entirely compliant with the law. So because private property owners do not have the authority to post a sign that says under no circumstances can the
Right.
federal government enforce federal law on my property, because there are circumstances pursuant to a warrant, pursuant to exigent circumstances where enforcement activities could go. So the signage is rather limited, and we will ensure that the language is appropriate.
I wanted to just confirm that this was something we weren't going to foist on our private property owners, but it was upon their request. We were authorizing you to provide that information.
Just language, not hard physical signs, correct?
Well, if the hard physical signs is a 5-cent piece of paper, perhaps that isn't as concerning. But I don't want to get us into the business of making,
Metal signs.
metal signs or
Okay.
et cetera. Was my intent. I just want to confirm everyone else's intent and to make sure that everyone knows that we aren't proactively, we're going to do this upon request. Is that?
That's how I understand it.
But just so I'm clear, so the language says that the village that the village administrator is authorized to provide private property owners with signage.
Upon their request is what I,
Oh, no, and at no cost. Okay, so there is actually signage, not just.
let's just confirm. What does everyone feel about that?
A PDF
A PDF that they
online
can
that they
print.
can download and use, or we're providing it, but there's no cost. What a PDF,
So we're not okay.
not physical.
And I don't know if we're getting into semantics here, but signage to me is different than sign. So
Yeah.
to me, the word sign indicates a physical
Sign,
sign.
and
Sign
signage
could
is
be-
the language that might be used.
Yeah.
Okay,
I could be, I would look to Peter.
We should probably clarify this language. What you've described is perfectly fine. Somebody could read that differently because it says provide signage which the owners may post. So at no cost. So it sounds like we're giving them something that actually has a cost as opposed to a PDF.
Right. I'm happy to make that motion to
Yeah.
amend.
Mhm. I would second it.
Okay, we have a motion to amend section D3 of section 762 of the ordinance that's in front of us to amend it so that we are providing
Signage language.
signage language in a form, electronic form for private property owners to use at their discretion and at their risk. With that change, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments?
I have a few comments, Susan.
Sure.
So first of all, about that proposal, I'm not sure that I'm in favor of using village resources, time, staff's time to create things for private businesses. That's my opinion, but I think if it's a benefit to the community and to the taxpayers and residents, let's do it. If it's for private businesses, I don't think that's a good use of the village's time. At our last meeting, we had a resident come up and ask us a number of questions about this pending ordinance. I remember a few of those questions being along the lines of, can we make the ordinance simply put, plainly put? Can we put the ordinance in its entirety out in the Lake Bluff letter, the email that we send to residents each week? I understand why that could be operationally challenging. He also asked a question that really intrigued me, and it was about the cost of this to the taxpayers. To work on this ordinance. How many hours did it take? What was the total cost to the community? I don't think he got an answer, and I was wondering if I could get an answer on that.
I don't think we've gotten a bill yet from the attorney on this.
Okay. That's something I'd like to understand, how much the cost of this is to our taxpayers. Also, Drew, so in lieu of being perceived to have violated the Open Meetings Act, can you please read the email from Village President Charlot that was sent earlier today to the entire board? And then after that, I'd like to continue.
I could read it if you'd like. You have it?
I have
Okay,
it.
you go.
Okay.
You win.
It says, I regret missing tonight's board meeting. Following our comments, I would like to make to the board for tonight. I've given considerable thought to Mr. Zavitz's comments in preparation for tonight's meeting. While it is certainly easier to manage infrastructure like roads and power plants, no one protests the loss of deteriorated road leading to their home. The village is deeply invested in addressing social issues. We operate a police department and a fire department precisely to respond to past and future social challenges. We also devote significant attention to residents, all residents' well-being, whether through discussions about food banks, community wellness, or how we can possibly influence mental health across the community. More importantly, this is not about taking a position on immigration policy. Rather, it is about recognizing a fundamental right guaranteed by the U.S. Constitution that all individuals on U.S. soil, citizens and non-citizens alike, are entitled to due process and a fair opportunity to defend their rights. It is not acceptable for members of our community to be removed or within quotes, disappeared without due process. Whether we acknowledge it or not, this is a social issue already affecting Lake Bluff today.
Thank you, Drew. I respect President Charlot tremendously. Arguably, I wouldn't be in this seat tonight without his support, his guidance, his friendship. Regarding the comment that the village is deeply invested in addressing social issues, I couldn't disagree with that statement more. I'm adamantly against turning our village into a social issues community. While I do have personal opinions on many social issues like all of you, I believe I was elected by 560 of my neighbors to address roads, sewers, bridges, bluffs, our infrastructure, our zoning, public safety, and village finances. While I will be voting yes on the first reading of this ordinance tonight, and it's not a difficult decision for me at all, the broader issue is the continuation of this board tackling social and political issues. Those issues divide our community, they pit neighbors against each other, and it signals Village Hall is picking sides on a social or political debate. So I will continue to advocate for the residents of our community who have asked us time and time again on several different topics to not take on political and social issues here in Lake Bluff. Thank you.
Does anyone care to comment, defer?
I just want to comment that I didn't equate social issues to political issues, but I don't know. Maybe it's how we define things, but I assumed when President Charlo was talking about social issues, he meant issues like public safety and issues that impact our community.
I do think there's a definitional question there, and your comments just combined social and political into a single issue. I would tend to agree with you that political issues are not what we were elected to do. However, social welfare, doing things that are aimed at benefiting the health and welfare of the people who live in this village, I don't know. I don't think that's appropriate to call those equivalent to political issues. I think those may be social in some definition, but I don't find them political. So I understand why this issue and some of the others we've dealt with feel political. But I will suggest a couple of reasons why we might want to do this despite whatever political viewpoint we have. Making clear to the municipal employees what is expected of them when it's very, very clear to the police officers what they're to do. If ICE comes to the door, it is not as clear to anyone else. And I think we can legitimately make that clear without diving into a political issue, though perhaps one can disagree. Use of our property, I think that's also within our purview, right? We have to determine who's going to clean up behind the property when the property is being used in a way that it's being used, or we have to determine who is going to enforce the peace if the property is being used in a particular way. So I do think we have an interest in that. And finally, as to the signage, I will agree with you that providing something that costs to private property owners is not necessarily where we want to be. I think in this case, we provide a service of providing language that is appropriate to those who request it without them having to go hire their own knowledgeable, not nearly so knowledgeable as Peter, legal counsel to get that kind of advice. And so it is providing something to anyone who comes and asks for it. And we're not going to do it at an additional cost of laminating signs or creating, beautiful plastic signs or whatever. Those are the three reasons why I think we have a legitimate interest in this. Is something other than window dressing, or I can't remember what we called it before. Symbolic. It is something more than a symbolic gesture. It does, I'm sure, feel political to those who are listening to it and disagree. But I do think there is a difference, as Shana said, between political and social issues.
I think we need to be careful on asking for itemized bills every time the attorney and village staff enacts an ordinance meant to benefit the village, because everyone's going to have a debate over an issue, whether we want to install sidewalks down Green Bay, which was something that happened, and we had a lot of opposition, or put in a stop sign to protect people from speeding through a part of the village. We get people that come in and say, I don't like this, you're enforcing this, this is a political issue, or this is this issue. We do this all the time, and they spend a lot of time with the sustainability and community enhancement, working on issues that could be classified as social or political, like environment, okay, or sustainability or climate change. These are issues that the village has taken on, and the village spends time on it. It's not, how much time did we spend on a condominium development, and how much time did the attorneys spend on that? And that was controversial. Why are we involved in any type of effort to help a private developer? I mean, that's just what we do. It's what the village does.
I think providing transparency is what the village does or should be doing. So I don't think anything is wrong with asking the question, Brian.
And there's nothing wrong with asking a question. What I'm saying is, where do you stop?
We work for the residents. We work for the
So if
taxpayers.
every resident comes in and says, for the issue last week, I want an itemized bill from the village attorney, and every hour that was spent by the staff on that issue, we should provide it?
I don't know. I don't have an answer to that, but I
Right.
think The question is legitimate.
The question is legitimate. I'm just saying that we go down a slippery slope when we do that. That's just my personal opinion.
So when do we decide what questions of our residents to answer and whatnot?
I mean, I think part of it is there is transparency. There's a budget. The budget outlines how much everyone's paid, who's employed by the village. It outlines what we pay Peter. It outlines what we pay our other village prosecutors. So if they want that information, they have it. They can FOIA it, they can go research it. But are we gonna really, I mean, there's no way to, they're not billable employees. Like Drew doesn't bill his time. So no one's gonna have a breakdown on how much they spent on this. That's just silly. Now, whether or not Peter's gonna provide his itemized bills, I mean, you're gonna have major issues with that when it comes to privilege. So this is just a silly argument to have. We do provide transparency much more so than what is being insinuated.
I think just to add, because I was an advocate of providing the language for the sign. We know that in Illinois, that property owners who want to prohibit the carrying of firearms on their private property must post specific standardized signs at the entrance as mandated by the Firearm Concealed Carry Act. Failure to comply with the sign can result in criminal penalties. So what we're doing is really for residents who do choose to post a sign, they would come to us and say, what is the sign? You can say, we drafted a PDF, it's on the website, you use it as you wish. So that they're all uniformly not doing something improper, or illegal against the ordinance, against the village. So in a sense, if there's someone who wants to post a no firearm or post a, certain uses and restrictions of their business or their property, they can do so, It's just standardized language.
Any other comments? Will you then go to public comments? Okay, so anyone wish to comment on this agenda item?
Again, my name's Peter White, 400 East Sheridan Place. I wrote a letter to the village. I don't know who read it. I've had no feedback, so let me reiterate a couple points for the public record, because I don't think that letter's in the public record. Here's why I believe the proposed ordinance isn't necessary. The potential impact on Lake Bluff residents of the ordinance would likely be less than 1% of the village residents, therefore not meeting any standard definition of a social issue that you all discussed. And many trustees have stated publicly in this room that the ordinance would only be symbolic in nature. Number two, because it can't be factually established that any Lake Bluff residents have been impacted to date. And finally, because there's a 1,600-acre federal facility for ice staging less than 2 miles from the heart of Lake Bluff. And if you believe what you read in the news, ICE has stopped using Great Lakes as their base and has cleared out of the area. So the ordinance seems to be overkill. Here are my continued issues. I think the level of transparency has not met the benchmark of a responsible board. This ordinance has not been well publicized, and it's promoting a position, I believe, of a minority of residents. I have no evidence to the contrary. And to give the entire knowledge of this ordinance to what the board is proposing, I suggested that the ordinance be published in its entirety and included in the Friday Lake Bluff Village update. The only mention of it was at the very last line. It's on the agenda 48 hours before the before this meeting. There was no public discussion of what the ordinance was or when it would be discussed until Friday at 6 o'clock or whenever that Lake Bluff. And I think I got it Saturday morning. I usually check on Friday. So my question is, what are the concerns with sharing this more broadly with the public? Again, I have no answers, but I would like some. This point has been brought up. A couple of my points have been addressed tonight. I do think, given the specific and special nature of this topic, the public is owed an explanation of what the investment from a legal and resource standpoint in this ordinance has been. So my question is, how is the public to get this information? Do we have to go through a FOIA? Or can I just drop by Drew's office and look at the numbers?
Apparently, we don't have the numbers, as Mr. Irvin just said, but when the documents are available, I believe with redactions for privilege, FOIA is the
Okay.
process.
FOIA. And the board cleverly and clearly addressed 762D3 in terms of signage. I was very impressed with the approach to that. What I didn't want to do is walk into Bluffington's and see a sign that said XYZ not allowed past this point or whatever those signs. I'm not in favor of using taxpayers' funds to give signs to businesses or any private person for posting. If language is an issue, and I think the village attorney suggested that it is, we should have clear, consistent language, but I hate to see a bunch of signs on people's lawns and in businesses. Otherwise, the people that come here for lunch in Great Lakes are going to start heading to Lake Forest. So thank you for addressing that. Again, I'll restate my position. I'm firmly in favor of an ordinance, but keeping it simple to something to the extent that in light of the recent ICE and DHS activities in the area, whatever our attorney drafts, the Village of Lake Bluff supports its residents and adheres to state and federal laws. My conclusion is anything more than this is aspirational, symbolic, and most likely unenforceable, serving only as a political interest rather than addressing the real issues of the village. And by real issues, I mean the infrastructure rules and public safety. So I wasn't going to say this. I was going to, but a little levity maybe is in order here. And since the topic came up, I'll share it. Some things have changed since I've moved here 23 years ago. And maybe we need a village name change. Want to stay away from the social issues. So I came up with a list of suggestions. And these are all tongue in cheek, so please bear with me. Lake Buffalo? No. Bluffbrook? Highland Bluff? Bluff Met? Lakefield? Blufferston? All tongue in cheek, but we have to be careful. I view Lake Bluff to be Rockwell-esque in a certain way. That's why we moved here. It continues to have a very strong vein and theme of that. Think about the Thanksgiving picture that Rockwell did that is coming up with the turkey, grandma bringing the turkey and grandpa at the head of the table. That's what I like to see as Lake Bluff. I'd like you to think about where the town is being driven. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Appreciate your time.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Let me see if anybody wants to offer anything.
Yes.
Now is the time to, if you're participating in this meeting via Zoom and you want to make a comment regarding this proposed ordinance, please raise your hand through the Zoom and you can be recognized, and no one is.
Okay. Any other comments on the board? With that, we have a motion and a second, so it's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
First reading.
This is the first reading. We will have a second reading in December. We can publish further information in an upcoming upcoming newsletter.
Just to be clear, the village, as a matter of practice, we haven't included the whole ordinance.
We would not include the
We
whole ordinance,
haven't
but
done
I would like to see a little bit more description of what it is that we're doing,
Okay.
but not, I don't want 3 pages.
Constructive criticism.
The ordinance is on the website,
It- you
easily
have a click-
accessible by clicking the button,
Yep.
correct?
Click to the ordinance would be good. That would be good.
Okay, we can put something on the website. Yeah,
We could link the
Yep.
packet or,
it's,
yeah,
that's there already.
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think there should be a summary.
Okay.
I don't understand what that means. What do you
I
mean?
don't think we appreciate your input. I think anytime you summarize something, you're at risk of changing the meaning. So I think linking to the ordinance itself, as you yourself suggested, the whole thing should be in the newsletter. We're saying the link to it could be in the newsletter. So with that, we have a voice vote in favor. We will be addressing the second reading next time we join.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, going back
7A.
to 7A, the warrant report.
Can you handle that?
Hmm.
Can you take it?
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
so 7A is the warrant report for November 11th through the 24th. It also includes the payroll expenditures. Happy to answer any questions regarding anything in the warrant.
I had a couple of questions. Get a chance to talk to you about them, but I'll defer. I feel like Regis is always deferring, so I have just like defer. I'm sitting in this chair.
Yeah.
I should defer rather than be Susan. I had a couple of questions, if no one else wants to jump in, on the printout of all of the vendors we paid. There were a couple that were out of the ordinary that I wanted to talk about, and I'm sorry I didn't give you a heads up because you would have
Okay.
found it already. One was regarding the Target rebates. And I know that we know about that in theory, but when you see the numbers there, I'd like to just talk a little bit about it. The good news is Target's doing well. The good news is we're reaping a lot of sales tax revenue through them. And I want to understand what the rebate is and make sure that everyone who is listening can understand what the rebate is about. And it is reflected on one of these pages of the warrant report.
Yeah, so I will do a high level, kind of describe how the deal was crafted. So more than 10 years ago, Target came to the village and said, we want to develop in your community. There's some financial gaps in our economic model. And we were hoping to find a way to close those gaps so we can build this store. And I think the good news is the village found a way, one, through a grant through the Department of Transportation that paid for much needed improvements that should have been done years ago, and doing some roadway work there right by the Target store, the then Shepherd Chevrolet. The other element of that was a sales tax rebate agreement, which the village has done for other high sales tax generating businesses, really automobile dealerships. In this particular case, it was a race to either the first let me think, trying to think of the amounts here. It was 10-year period, the earlier of 10 million or, I'm sorry, 10 years or 4.52 million, I believe is the amount that we were trying to reach. And the way the village set up the parameters was when the Shepherd Chevrolet dealership was there, the village never got more than around $150,000 in sales tax off of that property and business. So the village said, okay, well, we'll always be better off than we were. And so the village got the first $250,000 from the site. And the next 250 went to Target, and anything above that amount was shared. Quickly, the village got in a position where we were sharing money through the site. And now we're at the conclusion, 10 years, we never got to the 4.52, but we did get to the 10-year mark. So the good news is the village is going to realize 100% of the sales tax dollars to the village. And go ahead.
Is this the last year that we'll see this rebate that's on
Yes.
in the warrant
Yes.
report?
Yes. It's
Okay.
final. It's good news.
Yeah, yeah, I think I was in there. I couldn't believe how busy it was. So I guess it's that time
Tis
of
the
year.
season.
Tis the season. Yeah, so that was the first one. The second one was the Shore Acres partial refund of tree mitigation Shore Acres, another big number.
Yeah, so a few years ago, there was a land transaction where the Shore Acres Country Club picked up half of a site and the other half went to a private property where they built a private residence. The other half became a practice facility
Mhm.
and commonly referred to as a hitting range, but they said it's a practice facility. And as part of that, there was some tree removal that was involved. And both creating the residence, but primarily on the property that where the practice facility was. And so we went through there and we decided which trees made the most sense to remove. And in the village's tree ordinance, which is in the zoning regulations, there's a process for the village to authorize tree removal. And at the end of the day, the village's regulations are a property owner can decide if they want to remove a tree or not. There's no stopping that. But there are regulations in place that certainly incentivize high quality hardwood species remaining by we make it financially more difficult for people to choose to do that. And so part of this process, we went through that, we analyzed that, and given the volume of trees to be removed, there was a very large tree permit that we issued where they paid a payment in lieu of replanting trees. But we had, just like we do with any property owner, we say our goal is we don't want the money, we want the trees. And so over the last several years, they've gone through a process of replanting on their property. And we periodically go out to the site, we do an audit, we look at the trees, make sure they're healthy, have to keep them alive for 2 years. So this was the end of that initial period. We have told them if they want to extend it and keep planting, that offer still, because we want the trees, not the money. So
Mhm.
they may come back in the future, but this is really the last audit due to the original permit that was taken out a few years ago.
Those were my
Yeah.
questions.
Can
Tina?
I just add, per Jake Turley, Public Works Superintendent, there still is additional amount left over and they could come back
Yeah.
for the remaining $60,000 once that gets cleared from the planting of the additional trees.
And does they have an indefinite period of time to plant or?
We have been, I think, Jake doesn't like, but we've extended for several years because
Mhm.
again, it's the goals of trees and
Right.
we're small enough, we can do it. So we try to get the trees, so.
I see. Okay. Any other questions about the warrant report? Okay, do I have a motion and a second? I do not have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
So moved in second. Any further comment? Get that out of order. Any comment?
I'm sorry, it's a roll call.
Yes. That much. Sorry. That,
I just think it's interesting that I'm here to see the end of this contract that I negotiated for Target.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying this walk down memory lane with you,
Yes.
Brian. It's been really enjoyable.
Yes.
Well, you can pat yourself on the back.
Yeah.
It seems to have worked out well. So with that, it's a roll call vote. Could you please take the roll?
Trustee Fisher,
Aye.
trustee Fried,
Aye.
trustee Hatch,
Aye.
trustee Renner,
Aye.
trustee El Shamaz,
Aye.
and trustee Ryder.
Aye.
I
Okay,
remember 3 people speaking out against the Target project,
yes. 3?
but only 3.
Yes. Well, it seemed like a bit of a gamble at the time. It did, because at the time when box stores were closing.
They only built 2 stores that year and then they haven't, it's been a long time since they built many
Can't
stores.
imagine like without it.
I know. I know.
Negotiation was, it was difficult negotiation.
They were all business.
Yes.
They were all business.
Yes. They also underestimated their tax revenue that, as part of the negotiation.
Right.
And then we got them to follow lead environmental standards for lighting in the parking lot and the store, which was part of the negotiation.
And that was a new format. They had never built a store like that. That was kind of a small Target, but not the urban Target. So, yeah,
Huh. It's a village Target, maybe.
it's a Lake Bluff Target.
Okay. All right, moving to item number 7B, the October 2025 financial report.
Motion to approve.
Accept. Motion to accept.
I have a motion to accept the October 2025 financial report. Thank you.
Nice second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any comments on the financial report or questions for Bettina?
I took a call today from trustee Elkins, who was asking about the sales tax numbers for the first time. Was not a continuing bump upward. And I said I wasn't prepared to lose sleep yet. So, but we're hopeful that it's just a anomaly. Things will continue growing, hopefully.
We had a difference between sales tax and homo sales tax, right?
Yes.
There were a couple of highlighted numbers that I thought might be helpful for you to go over if I can find them. It's primarily on page 15 of 17 of the board packet that's on Dropbox. And there's several that are highlighted in green, and then there's several that are highlighted in pink. I just wanted to give you an opportunity, Bettina, to just talk about each of those, any of them that are significant. I took it to mean that they were either significantly higher or significantly lower than budgeted. Is that what the green and the pink mean in these?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything in the report that concerns you?
I mean, no, there's just fluctuations, you know, a home rule sales tax is greater, building permit revenue is up. The miscellaneous funds are down. That's related to the grant related to the bridge that we received last year at this time. So we're comparing to periods where there was just different revenue streams. Yeah. That's really it.
Building permits were not quite double, but it's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, May 1?
Yeah, we're May 1 fiscal year.
So it's,
About halfway.
we're halfway.
Yep.
So it's 50% of the year is reflected as of October 31st.
Right.
Yeah, general performance is where the village wants it. Revenues are coming in higher than anticipated. Expenditures are lower, which is typically how we fare.
Any further questions, comments? Motion to accept has been made and seconded. So it's voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Okay. Item number 8 is the village administrator's report.
Have no report.
Okay, item number 9, village attorney's report.
I have no report.
Item number 10, there is no village president's report or even president pro tem report. You might be glad to know. Okay, so moving on to the consent agenda. We have item number 11, acceptance of the correspondence. Item number 12, second reading of an ordinance vacating and selling a portion of public right-of-way, which is 0 Simpson Alley. Oh, those are the only two consent agenda. Is there anyone who would like to remove either of those from the consent agenda? None? Okay. Is this voice or?
It is a roll call vote.
This is a roll call. Okay.
We need a motion and a second.
So we do need a motion and a second before I ask for a roll call. Anyone want to motion approval of the consent agenda?
So, second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. It is a voice vote. Clerk, please call the roll. Is that what you said?
It's a roll call vote. You're correct.
Trustee Freed?
No, I said voice.
Trustee Freed?
Yeah.
Trustee Hatch?
Aye.
Trustee Renner?
Aye.
Trustee El Aye. Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
And Trustee Ryder?
Aye. Okay, get those terms down. Okay, moving on to item 13. It is a public hearing regarding the year 2025 property tax levy. We are going ahead and conducting a public hearing on the proposed property tax levy. We've had several discussions in public regarding this. And the amounts and the reasons for those amounts have been discussed in detail. In addition, the hearing notice was published in the Lake County News on November 14th, 2025 and November 19th, 2025. It took me just a minute to figure out why we were looking at those articles in the middle of this packet. Oh, it's at the bottom. I see. Okay.
Proof of notice.
Proof of notice, there it was. So the notice was there. So with that in mind, do we have a motion to what, approve?
You've declared the public hearing open.
Thank you.
And
That's
come back
exactly
to
what I
me.
did.
And now you're going to ask Bettina to give a presentation.
Thank you. Bettina, the floor is yours, Bettina.
Thank
In fact, if you'd like to come sit here.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to present information on the 2025 property tax levy. The levy will apply to property tax bills that would be issued to property owners in May of 2026. And to provide some historical perspective, when Illinois became a state in 1818, the Constitution required property to be taxed in direct proportion to its value. Between 1818 and 1830, constitutional amendments granted the state various powers over property taxations. And the Revenue Tax Act of 1872 established Illinois authority to set property valuations. The last year that the state levied real estate taxes was 1930, and since that time, property taxes have been levied exclusively at the local level, where municipalities, counties, and other taxing bodies determine their own levies to fund essential services. So tonight, we're going to review the sources of the revenue funding for the village, operations and capital initiatives, the property tax assessment cycle, how property tax dollars are used, historical EAV data and levy information, and then the impact on a median home, family home. So the levy has several financial policies which guide the preparation of the tax, and the budget allowing the village to proactively seek solutions to change its revenue streams. Some of these more significant practices are to balance revenue sources between taxes, user fees, and other sources to reduce the reliance on any one source, to be prudent in the expenditure of funds, to maintain adequate operational reserves, and to fund the pension requirements as determined by actuaries, and not to use non-reoccurring revenue sources to finance operational expenditures. This just outlines the percentage of the budgeted revenues as a whole. Obviously, then sales tax revenue and property tax are the leaders in that in the revenue categories.
It's probably been in the last 10 years when sales tax overtook property taxes as the primary source of revenue for the village's general fund.
Yeah. So to take a look at the assessment cycle, the village sets its levy before the fiscal year budget is finalized, and that creates a timing challenge. The levy is calendar-based, and the fiscal year ends April 30th. So the Lake County calculates the tax rate based on the village's levy amount and the total assessed property value. The assessed value, or EAV, is initially estimated by the county, which is what we then calculate, the village calculates the levy off of. The village levies in dollars, not rates, so changes in property values affect the rate, not the revenue. As a home rule community, Lake Bluff is exempt from PTEL, but voluntarily follows its limits. So increases over 5% or CPI require a public hearing, and that's following based on Resolution 2005-6. The levy ordinance must be filed the last Tuesday in December, and funds are collected the following year and used to support the village budget passed in April of 2026. So just a quick summary on the municipal side, we have budget prep, a levy ordinance, and certification to the county. On the county side, we have property assessments, tax rate calculations, the bills are mailed, and taxes are collected. And from the extension unit, they apply EAV, calculate the rate per $100, and capture new growth. So where do property tax dollars go? The village portion of the tax bill is about 8.85% this year. It's typically ranging between 8 and the highest 9, while the remaining taxing bodies range from as high as 39% to as low as 0%, which isn't on here, but that's CLC Jawa. So this chart shows the assessed value by class for the past 10 years, along with the extension over the same period and an estimate for 2025. So while comparing the correlation to EAV, this chart includes the library extension. Slope of the orange line at the top shows the total EAV. And what changes this? Market value, income generating capacity for current properties, and new construction or annexation to tax rolls. The village hasn't had any annexation since 1998 when the sanctuary subdivision became part of the municipal boundaries. So you see a pretty steady slope that just increases slightly. So what's to know about the Sears levy? The total levy is 5.5 million and some change compared to the prior year of 5.256. The consumer price index was used to calculate it at 2.9%. And estimated new construction that we received in August was 2.95 million. The total EAV is estimated to increase 14.34%, but that could change based on the final numbers we receive. It's kind of small, but this is where the levy dollars are calculated. To raise the money requested in the levies, the county calculates tax rates for each fund that we tax for. And this just outlines the percentages of the budgeted amounts and what those estimating resulting rates are with an ending number of 0.715290.
And just to clarify, the extension associated with the activities listed on the left, audit, corporate, police support services, those numbers, with maybe close exception to one, generally do not meet the full need of the village. This is to represent where the extension is attached to. There have been communities which have put most of their extension into the corporate line over the years as a strategic move.
Right. And then just allocate it.
Yeah, and just move
internally.
it around after that. So that is something that's never been done here, but has been done in other places. But the village continues to do it this way to, it certainly justifies the expenses and the necessity of levying the property tax, showing the different functions of the village. Not all of them, but some of the primary ones.
Right. It does list out the percent of budget on there, so you can see, what the dollars equate as part of the budget in that second column. A little bit more transparent than putting it all into corporate. So this chart shows the breakdown of the levy by function and purpose. It's important to note that the levy does not fully fund any one of these functions. The village relies on multiple sources of revenue such as sales tax and other taxes and building permits and use fees, licenses and fines to cover the services. The pensions, including police, IMRF, and Social Security, represent 35.25% of the total levy. So that's committing over 1.9 million of the 5.5 total levy. So the impact on $785,000 home, which was the median home value, market value, actually shows a decrease. So when total EAV increases, the tax rate decreases to ensure that we receive the correct money. Quick snapshot comparing 2024 to the current number. And then how do we compare to other communities? This just lists out the EAVs of the neighboring communities, their tax rates calculated based on the 2024 levies, and what those property tax amounts equal based on the current median market value. Puts us in second place, which is where we've been for a long time, and the other communities beneath us.
From a comparative basis, it's interesting that Lincolnshire, where they fall with us with regards to EAV, when you think about all their commercial development.
Right.
Right.
Huh.
That's it. Does anyone have any questions? The answer.
Any questions? Anyone like to comment?
I think we've discussed before, and most people understand that the village is only a small part of their tax bill, their property tax bill. 8-9%, right?
Yep. That's correct.
High value.
Yes, high value.
Okay, thank you, Tina. Moving on to number
We'll
15.
continue the public hearing to the next meeting.
Really?
Mhm.
Huh. We're going to continue the public hearing to the next meeting. We're not done.
We are.
Need a
You'll
motion
be
for
back.
Peter?
Nope, just declare it continued.
Continued.
So declared.
Okay. All right, moving to number 15. Tax, no, number 14, thank you. The number 14, the tax levy ordinance. This is an ordinance levying property taxes for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2025 and ending April 30th, 2026 for the village of Lake Bluff, Lake County, Illinois. This is the first reading and we'll be taking a voice vote. But Tina, perhaps you can take us through this one. Oh, do we have a motion?
We'll tag team it.
Do I have a motion to approve this on a voice vote? And do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, now, Bettina, do you have more information for us?
So per the review, the estimates, the final projections, were reviewed at the Finance Committee on October 27th. The aggregate levy estimates totaling $5,509,000, which includes the village share of the property tax levy at $4,183,457 and the library share of $1,321,552. I guess of note, the library board provided their request totaling their levy at $1,321,552. Their request included the additional $114,655, which increased, our aggregate levy. However, per our guidelines, the library is not part of the portion that we would calculate PTEL against. They are separate, even though I levy together, so they don't affect our commitment to not exceed PTEL.
So attached to your report in under item 14 are a copy of the ordinance, a calculation schedule for the tax levy, a copy of the police pension board levy request, and the library board levy request. As Bettina pointed out, we do and continue to meet the PTEL guidelines for the village board. The library is somewhat over that and not under the same pledge that we are under as the village. As a result, we have a $5.5 million levy. And this is first reading, so take a voice vote. Public comment before that.
We just did the public hearing, so.
We did the public hearing and there was no comment. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody feel compelled to publicly comment now is free to do so. Hearing no comments, we'll take a voice vote on this one. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. We'll be discussing this again at our next meeting for second reading.
December 8th.
December 8th. Okay. Now, item 15, tax abatement ordinance. The village currently has refunding bonds and the county clerk is required to extend a property tax levy in an amount sufficient to pay the interest and the principal on the bonds. Fortunately, we have adequate funds to transfer to this account, and so we can do the levy enough tax revenue through our regular levy that we need not do this special levy. But because it is expected that we will do this levy, we need to reverse that. So this is for first reading on the tax abatement ordinance. And do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. Anyone have anything they'd like to say about this? I think we talked about this at Finance Committee recently. It's about $200,000 that we abate each year, maybe slightly less than that. We choose to abate it. So that is something within our control that we do each year. Hearing no further comments. This is first reading, so it's a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes, and we will talk about this again on December 8th. Okay, we've done item 16, item 17. I will read a little bit of this because it's kind of a lot, and I'd like to make sure everybody understands how we got here. The Village of Lake Bluff is a co-plaintiff in a lawsuit joined by other plaintiffs, other North Shore communities, I believe primarily North Shore communities. The name of the case is City of Evanston versus Monsanto. It was filed by these municipalities who chose to opt out of a 2022 class action settlement against Monsanto and other manufacturers for PCB chemical pollution. The last few years, the municipal plaintiffs have been working with the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois to negotiate a global settlement and its co-defendant with Monsanto and its co-defendants. So under the terms of this settlement agreement, which provides more favorable terms than the one we opted out of, we have the following payments. Number one, $97,570 in guaranteed funds to be paid out upon final approval of the settlement by all necessary parties and dismissal of the lawsuit by the court. Number two, $78,056 in guaranteed funds to be paid by the end of the first quarter of 2026. Number three, contingent future compensation in amount of either $68,299 to be paid by December 31st, 2030, or up to $341,494 at such time as certain separate insurance indemnity cases brought by the Monsanto defendants are fully resolved in favor of the Monsanto defendants. As I said, this is an improved payment amount that exceeds what we would have gotten as part of the 2022 class action settlement. We're voting now on a roll call vote to approve the resolution accepting this settlement agreement. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Thank you. Anyone have a comment on this?
I had asked Drew for some information just about how the numbers were calculated generally. What were they based on? And I got a satisfactory answer, Drew, but if you had any additional information.
The answer is impervious acres. There was no difference. That was the answer. How much impervious surface is in each of these respective communities.
Thank you.
So that was the basis. Which relates to stormwater flow, et cetera, et cetera.
Any other questions? Thank you. Questions? Any public comment on this item?
Nobody is raising their hand.
Okay. In that case, this is a roll call vote. So clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee El Shamaz?
Aye.
Trustee Fisher?
Aye.
Trustee Freed?
Aye.
Trustee Hatch? Trustee Renner?
Aye.
Trustee Ryder?
Aye. Okay, motion passes. We are on number 18 now. Trustees report. Do any of the trustees have items they would like to raise at this time? Did I skip something?
Nope. There's no trustee reports.
There are no trustee reports.
This is what you need to read.
Okay, being passed notes. Okay, may I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation pursuant to Section 2C11 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act?
And that we anticipate that there will be no public comment, right, coming out of, or no public actions coming out of the closed session. So therefore, this will conclude the public portion of the
You
meeting.
didn't write all that. Okay, what he said.
What he said.
Peter,
Do we have a second?
did we do the executive committee? Yeah.
We do that in, yeah, number 19.
Number
Oh,
19.
you want to do that first? I'm sorry.
Okay,
Takes a vote.
thank you.
Need a motion.
Of village.
Thank you. Two.
Thanksgiving.
Okay, let's back up for a minute. We will do number 19, consideration of the minutes of the November 10, 2025 executive session minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. I'm going to say the first part and then you can say the second part. Okay. May I have a motion to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing pending litigation pursuant to section 2C11 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act?
Because no more.
And that, when we adjourn the closed session, this public meeting will automatically adjourn, so there'll be no further public business.
Yeah, what he said.
Mhm.
So moved.
So moved. And do we have a second?
Karen, I heard that.
Yeah.
It's a roll call vote.
Then was it, we need a second. I didn't hear the second.
But, no.
We have a second?
Second.
Second.
There we now we do.
Okay, Rafi, thank you. This is a roll call vote. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Hatch.
Aye.
Trustee Renner.
Aye.
Trustee El Shamatz.
Aye.
Trustee Fisher.
Aye.
Trustee Fried.
Aye.
And Trustee Ryder.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Close that door.
Happy Thanksgiving, Chief.
Thank you.
Matt, would you do me a favor? Can you close that door, please? Thank you so much. Hold on, people.
Happy Thanksgiving, Chief.
Thank